She stood silently on the old wooden bridge, the early morning mist curling around her bare feet like ghosts from the past. Her eyes were tired, red and swollen, but they were fixed ahead, not blinking, not wavering. In her arms was a small bundle wrapped tightly in a faded blue cloth. A baby. Her baby. Only 3 days old, still smelling of life, of milk, and of heaven. But the world had not been kind to this mother. Her name was Zola, a girl born in the shadow of war, raised in the drought-cracked soil of a village that forgot how to sing. Her father died before she turned 10, taken by soldiers who never came back to explain. Her mother withered away slowly, eaten by sickness and silence, leaving Zola to become a woman far too soon. By 15 she was fetching water, cooking for families not her own, and by 17 her body was taken by a man 3 times her age who promised food, then vanished before the harvest. That man left her with nothing but shame and a swollen belly. The women in her village sneered at her swollen belly. The elders refused to speak to her. Even her only friend Ayanda grew distant. She would hear them whisper at night that the baby was cursed, that no child born from sin could bring peace. Zola tried to stay strong. She sang to her belly. She prayed. She whispered stories to the child growing within her, stories of hope and rivers and lions who became kings. But when the baby came, the world around her grew even colder. No one came to help. No midwife. No mother. No friend. She birthed the child alone in a broken hut on the edge of the forest. When she held him for the first time, he was beautiful. A boy with soft brown skin, long fingers, and a cry that sounded like thunder. She named him Lethu, meaning he who brings. She believed he would bring something back to her life, joy perhaps, or even forgiveness. But the village didn't see it that way. They told her to go. They said the land would not bless a woman like her or a child born of shame. They accused her of bringing bad harvests, of scaring the cattle, of waking spirits at night. They spat at her feet, threw stones at her door. One evening a man came to her with a bag of maize and a warning: leave before the moon changes. She held her baby tight that night, listening to the distant drums that once meant celebration but now only echoed her fear. The next morning, with nothing but a piece of dried meat, a water gourd, and her son in her arms, she began walking. She walked through thickets and dry paths, past silent villages and curious stares. She begged at markets, sang songs for coins, and washed clothes by the river to buy warm milk. But still, the world didn't want her. The city she dreamed of was not waiting with open arms. It was crowded, dirty, and full of eyes that judged just like the village. She was turned away from shelters, told to go home, though she had no home. Days turned into weeks. She slept under trees, under bridges, sometimes beside strangers who snored and smelled like sorrow. Lethu began to cry more at night. His tiny body grew thinner. She tried to feed him, but her milk dried up with her tears. She knocked on church doors, whispered to nuns, pleaded with shopkeepers. Some gave her bread, others gave her disgust, and still she carried on. Until one day, on that wooden bridge, she stopped. Her body was broken, her soul tired. The baby whimpered softly in her arms, his breath shallow, his cheeks sunken. She looked at the river below, dark and deep, moving steadily like time. She thought of all the times she tried, all the times she prayed, all the times she told her son that things would get better, but they hadn't, and she felt like she had failed him. She thought maybe if she gave him to the river, the spirits would take care of him. Maybe he would become a fish or a cloud, something free and painless. She kissed his forehead, whispering, "Forgive me, my son. I loved you more than the stars." And then, with trembling hands and tears that could not be held back any longer, she let go. But fate is strange. A fisherman down the river saw something fall. He rushed toward it, a baby floating, wrapped in blue, crying against the current. He dove in, heart pounding. He pulled the baby out, coughing, blinking, alive. He called for help. People came. And then someone found Zola on the bridge, collapsed, barely conscious but alive too. They didn't know her story, not yet. But that baby brought questions, and those questions brought compassion. A woman in the nearby township who had lost her child the year before offered to help. The fisherman's wife brought food. A nurse volunteered time. Slowly, Zola found herself surrounded by warmth, not judgment. She was given a place to stay, counseling, a job sweeping floors in a small clinic. It wasn't much, but it was peace. And Lethu grew stronger. His laugh returned. His skin glowed. Zola would never forget that moment on the bridge, the pain, the helplessness. But she would also never forget the arms that reached out when she thought there were none left. Sometimes the world has to break before it can mend. Sometimes a mother has to fall before she is lifted. This is not a story of failure. It is a story of hope found in the darkest waters. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe and share to spread its message.